r/askreddit. What line of business is generally more corrupt than people realize? Towing. Companies who tow cars are shady as absolute fug. I had my car towed from the scene of an accident, and I couldn't get an insurance estimate for 4 days because the tow company claimed they didn't have it. Then they charged the insurance company for 4 days of storage after I went to their lot myself and took pictures of my car sitting there. Here in WA, they can sell your car at an auction if they have it for 100 hours. A friend's car got towed from an accident, and it took him nearly that long to find it. I gave him a ride there, and they already had his car on a car carrier to take to an auction. He almost lost his car. We don't have it. Well, tell the police that when they show up and arrest you for theft. That's what my dad did. Claimed they didn't have his car and was gonna sell it at auction, and they got arrested for it. I once saw an episode of Judge Judy where a towing company was suing a woman for refusing to pay fees after they towed her car for parking illegally. The woman absolutely destroyed him in the case. She had been parked 100% legally and could prove that, but the company were trying to intimidate her into paying money she didn't have to. Judge Judy was not happy. My brother was a pedestrian in an accident, saw a drunk driver crash, so he got out to help the scene at 1 in the morning when another car came along and hit the wires hanging over the road, tore down the telephone pole the line was attached to, and the pole hit him. Anyways, he was driving my car and parked it on the side of the road. Well, they still towed my car even though it wasn't involved in an accident. I had to leave the hospital where my brother was in a coma to go down to the tow yard and pay almost $400 just to get my car back. Moral of the story: fug tow yards. Susan G. Komen and the other disease awareness charities. Most of the money donated does not reach the scientists and doctors actually researching cures and treatments. To add to this, the pink breast cancer ribbon isn't trademarked. Meaning anyone can slap that shit on anything to make it seem charitable when it's really just shady marketing. As a former cancer researcher, I can confirm. They also reject any grant application that studies any treatment that can work on other cancers because they then feel like other cancer organizations are stealing from their brand of cancer. However, scientific standards dictate that all potential treatments must be studied on several different cancer types in the lab and in vivo to be considered a legit study. So it's a catch-22. Do you have an amazing new discovery that could cure breast cancer but also works on prostate or colon cancer? Sorry, no money for you. Sadly, because the US government cut NIH funding so badly over a decade ago, more and more labs have to rely on charity and industry funding, which leads to biased results or good research getting defunded and tossed in the circular file. Entire labs are shutting down because of it. Also, look at who Komen takes money from. A lot of food and chemical companies. Dairy consumption is a known cause of breast cancer, but Komen takes money from yogurt companies and lets them slap pink ribbons all over their packaging to give it a false health halo to increase profits. It's hypocritical at best. If Komen was truly interested in preventing breast cancer, they'd stop taking money from the companies that cause it and start educating the public about how to prevent it. Full stop. Awareness and raising any money for a cause is good, but I'm inclined to agree. After hearing they sue other orgs for using phrases like for the cure or even just cure, they seem shitty. The last time I donated for cancer research I went with the Jimmy V Foundation. They claim 100% of donations go to cancer research and Charity Navigator rated them 94% out of 100. Yelp Better Business Bureau. Basically it is a shakedown to remove poor reviews. Former Yelp employee here. I can say that, at least when I worked there were a ton of shady things the company did, and so many valid complaints against them. I was so glad when I got out of there, and have never once looked back. But, the whole pay us money to remove reviews thing is legitimately a myth. They definitely aren't the most above board place, but that is factually not something they did. The BBB is such a racket. My summer job in college was replying to organizations like the BBB on behalf of a company. You keep your rating high, in theory, by supplying adequate responses to consumer complaints. Government agencies were always so scrupulous and almost always sent follow-ups. The BBB always just closed the case. One time I accidentally sent the wrong doc for a completely unrelated complaint, and they still closed it. Education. Specifically the companies that publish textbooks as well as College Board, the company that has a monopoly on standardized tests in the US. The College Board has lobbied politicians to introduce bills that would have the government pay the standardized test fees for certain students. They also sell students' data. And it's not like students can opt out of taking the test to avoid their data being sold. Ever wanna see a worst scum? Go check out anyone who is in charge of Pearson. They are literally the devil with their overcharged books. They know it every fucking day as they walk on the lower class. Honestly, I would not mind socialism if it meant we get to see those thugs go down. Nursing homes, doesn't matter if it's the good ones. Their main goal is to get as much money out of the residents and give them shitty quality care and places to live. Recently a sweet lady I knew passed away and her family was forced to go in and remove her stuff the day she died because this shitty place were now charging them by the day. The nursing home my nana was in tried to do that. The lady had a box. A single box. I was fuming. Luckily my brother got there first, so rather than a shouting match he just got the charge dropped amicably because he is more intelligent than me. I hate nursing homes. They are a breeding ground for medical waste and fraud because their patients are in no condition to understand what's happening. Families aren't around enough to contest bill charges versus services rendered. It leads to awful abuses of Medicare and Medicaid. My grandma was into assisted living places until we found a wonderful woman who had her own residential home she lived in, and she took care of 3-4 older people at a time, herself. It was amazing and we were so glad we found her. I hope more places like that pop up so there are other options aside from the money-hungry assisted living places. Mortuary services. You do not need to be embalmed, you do not need an expensive casket, and they are overcharging you for everything. It's a disgusting extortion racket no one does anything about. And don't bury the loved ones with their jewelry. Worked in the funeral business, can confirm. I used to be written up on evaluations for not upselling caskets, vaults, and urns to families. Legally you don't even need an urn. If you provide the funeral home with a container they have to use it. I put someone in a coffee can once just like Donnie in The Big Lebowski. You do not need to be embalmed. In terms of full preservation for burial, yes. But you absolutely need to have preparation. At least in the USA, you can't just keep a body lying around full of fluids which will quickly start seeping or, even worse, does not seep and explodes. Edit for detail. I worked in Illinois in the Chicagoland area, and worked with morgues and funeral homes in the same area. Okay, and my father was a funeral director and I worked for a place that removed bodies for the coroner and hospice care. It might be a state or regional thing, but every body I ever saw had basic prep. Meaning they drained blood, abdominal fluid, don't know the proper term for it, and washed the body. I mean every body. There might be an obscure rule to have a direct cremation, but good luck with transport with a seeping body. They won't let you anywhere near that crematorium with a body in your truck or whatever. Double edit, spelling while using voice dictation outside a bar. In my country, police are some of the most corrupt government servants. They need to pass a very competitive exam to even be considered for the job. They need to pay bribes to the police recruitment board to get into the force after passing the exam. They need to pay bribes to the placement board after training and compulsory rural service to get a posting to an area of their choice. They need to keep ministers, politicians, local gangs protected to keep earning extra money. After this, they expect you to pay at least $100 for every time they stop you in traffic. They are arrogant AF. They have to work 12 hours a day, and will take out their frustration on any common man who tries to get help from them. They will normally list stolen mobiles as lost, so that they do not have to investigate, and the crime stats remain in check. They normally, but reluctantly help anyone who is well connected, or can pay them something extra to do their job. They do not care about the common man, and believe that the laws exist only so that they can extort more money from the tax-paying citizens. Their motto is to wring the last buck out of the common man, terrorize the population, help only the rich and powerful, while not paying heed to the citizens' call for help. They are the Indian police. I believe most of the above rant will apply to many other countries' states' police. I am an international student, from Russia, and during orientation day I got into an argument with a guy from Mexico and a guy from Malaysia about whose country's police is more corrupt. Needless to say, it was an argument that lasted hours and still wasn't resolved. It's a rare enough thing to see a police force such as ones in Europe or even US that actually get their job done and where corruption is almost non-existent. I could tell it's India formed the first few lines. The fines nowadays are blatant extortion. IT help from chain companies. Pretty much just Best Buy at this point, but they gouge on their services, or at least did several years ago when I last looked. They'll charge you, not only do they overcharge for their services, but usually will go over the estimated time for the repair. The reason for them taking so long is that there is usually only one person in the Geek squad who can actually do repairs, and all the other people are more or less cashiers with maybe some minor troubleshooting experience. This is also why they send so many things out for repairs instead of doing them in store. You should just take it to a local computer repair shop instead. They will probably do it for half the price in half the time, and will probably give you some recommendations on how to prevent thieving issues in the future. Don't forget the Apple Store. Older generations of iMacs, circa 2013 or so, featured an easily accessible and removable panel on the back that allowed you to update RAM, video card, etc. Newer iMac models are almost a single piece. Installing RAM requires the entire back cover to be removed, leaving the screen highly vulnerable and susceptible to breaking. The cost to fix the screen at the Apple Store is nearly the cost of just buying a new iMac outright. If that's not planned product failure corruption, I don't know what is. Real estate, the most corrupt line. That's how you hide your black money. I had to use black money the other week because my wallet was heavy and throbbing with dark energy. So, reluctantly, I walked into the nearest Walmart and right up to the Subway, Eat Fresh trademark sign, counter and ordered sandwich after sandwich after sandwich, with each one piling on more veggies and condiments than the last. The poor teenager girl behind the counter was probably told by her parents that a summer job would be good for her. She'd make a little money, meet some interesting people, and get valuable work experience, but I'm sure that happy little illusion came crashing down like a fancy candlelit chandelier at the governor's mansion after a pirate slices the hoisting rope in the midst of a daring escape after crashing the party and getting his daughter all hot and juicy. This girl was sweating and fearful. I could tell she was on the verge of tears, as her hands were shaking as she refilled the mayonnaise squirter for the third time. But I stood there screaming and moaning as the surging evil from that black money sizzled in my spine and hands. I had to spend it, all of it. I had held onto that black money for way too long, and I'm sorry Subway, Eat Fresh trademark sign, girl, but you were just another victim. My body strained and I gritted my teeth until my molars cracked with cringing nerve pain. My bones felt like there were millions of centipedes crawling all over them and biting randomly with a little zesty twist of mandibles for no other reason than to cause pain. Honestly, with the power of all that dark magic, I'm not even sure if that was a metaphor or what was really happening. Clouds formed in the Walmart and whipped up a violent hailstorm. The poor girl was peppered with ice chunks as big as cat's eye marbles. And that's when she finally broke. She threw herself to the ground and convulsed in the pile of scrap lettuce and plastic pepperoni. There was nothing I could do for the poor girl as I was barely able to keep myself conscious, so I had to just let her die there on the dirty floor. Immediately, a rat king burst through the back door with its many rats entangled by the tail and devoured her in a matter of minutes. I'm sure she had a bright future, but sometimes fate has cruel plans. Commendably, heroically really, she was able to put together over 30 of the most overstuffed Subway, Eat Fresh trademark sign, footlongs this realm had ever seen before the rats took her. Needing to complete the transaction, I pried open my wallet only to feel a torrent, one even more powerful than the gales of the Walmart storm, of sinister souls whiz past my face. There was a glow, or the opposite of a glow, such a dark abyss, that stung my eyes as I managed to pull the black money from my wallet. My hair grayed, my muscles atrophied, but through sheer force of will, I was able to slap that evil currency on the counter. A blast of light knocked me and the sandwiches on the ground. The Rat King burst into flames. The patrons of Walmart dropped to their knees in worship. A small maelstrom of heinousness sucked in the storm and the hail and the sandwiches, the rat dust, the girl's bones, and a couple birds that lived in the Walmart rafters. The people in the store gathered around me and raised me above their shoulders while chanting and singing in a deep, eerie harmony. Their words had no true meaning, no true language, but they comforted me in a way I cannot quite explain. All at once, the maelstrom ceased, and the crowd set me down, then returned to their normal lives with no memory of the black money, and my health came back to me. I was free. I had done it. Hiding and keeping your black money is not as good of an idea as seems. I believe it's called African American money now. Fixer-upper is the go-to way if you need to launder large amounts. Autism speaks. Fuck Autism speaks. This. If you were considering a donation to us, give it to the Autistic Self-Advocacy Network instead. Autism $peaks is less about helping autistic people, and more about helping autism mommies feel better about playing the martyr. Like, I'm pretty sure it's tougher on your autistic kid hearing how you think they're a burden, Karen. I feel like only 5% of crypto-related businesses are ever actually legit. Like, people know there's a lot of sketchiness in that industry. I've just seen so many invest crap loads in it anyway and wind up massively screwed. For example, Mt. Gox, Quadriga, etc. Then they have basically zero recourse because crypto is decentralized and therefore incredibly difficult to trace for law enforcement. That actually isn't too far off. I'm in online marketing and 2 years ago there were so many crypto-focused businesses, many of which are gone. There were even people advertising their pump and dump services. Crypto might someday be something. But right now it's the shadiest of shady investments. It's like what penny stocks were in the 90s. I would rather invest in a fucking money market account. Pest control. You can buy almost every single thing we use yourself online without a license. For the price you pay for one service you can get enough stuff to do it yourself for years. Also, almost all major companies now will spray the outside only if you aren't there because we're required to complete a certain number of jobs a day. So if you never confirmed the appointment we made for you that you never even knew about, guess what? You're still getting sprayed. Mega churches in the US. These guys are stealing money have over first through the use of flashy sermons and trumped up versions of how the Bible actually works. Not to mention the fact that most of the donations they receive help the people that own a church pay for private jets and mansions. Even if there's a catastrophe in their neighborhood they can't be bothered to send some money their way. After that last tornado in Missouri a local mega church didn't donate a dime. Meanwhile a local casino donated a large sum of money to the victims. Textbooks. Auto mechanics. There are plenty of honest shops out there, but there are also lots of places that won't think twice about charging for unnecessary repairs, and even for work they haven't actually done. Make sure you're going to someone you know you can trust. My mother's car was running rough so she took it to a chain shop. They told her that it needed this list of 5 things and that it would be over $400. She then had me look at it since I'm a hobbyist car mechanic. Nothing on that list that they gave her was wrong or needing work. It was all a lie. And the real problem wasn't on that list and was one that I noticed in under 2 minutes of actual looking and fixed it with 10 minutes of work and a $35 part. If she paid that shop for all of that unnecessary work her car would still be running poorly because they couldn't even be bothered to actually try to fix the issue while they were trying to scam her. I once saw a video where a guy got his brand new car and plugged one wire in it and took it to 3 auto shops. Out of the 3, only one fixed it by plugging the wire back in. The rest claimed the engine needed to be replaced or something. Hospitals. A lot of people think that health insurance are the cause of crazy medical cost, but hospitals artificially inflate the cost of all services in what is called a charge master, which is a list of the cost of all services that they do not disclose. They raise the cost of services so high so that when they make a deal with insurance, a 50% discount of something that has been made 10x more expense still gives them a huge profit. The scam with insurance is they often pay nothing. They might negotiate a $20,000 surgery down to $5,000 and then make you pay the $5,000. And by negotiate I mean they did the charge master discount once. Not that they care about your specific case. It's twofold. Hospitals inflate because insurance only pays part. The insurance says they'll pay less and hospitals inflate again so they get the same amount of payment. The only person who loses is the patient. At the end of the day, we need a government-led master price list to standardize, otherwise nothing will change. A lot of small businesses and charities are just ways for extremely wealthy to hide money from taxes. Like Leona Helmsley, the female Donald Trump, once said, "We don't pay taxes. Only the little people pay taxes." Ice cream trucks. There's a lot of cash, and the one I worked for would buy from a grocery store with cash to keep items sold off of the books. Justice prison systems in the United States of America. How district attorneys, state employees, and judges are allowed to have financial interests in occupancy of the prison systems without so much as a second look is disgusting and criminal. For-profit universities, University of Phoenix, DVRY, etc. A lot of non-profit charities are super sketchy the further you look into them. Pink ribbon breast cancer charities. Look at how well, and where it's marketed. It's huge, no cure, and when my wife had breast cancer they helped nil. I'm sure the CEO and higher ups are making good money. It's business in disguise.